Hey, Slater Crusaders, America's the greatest country in the world. Thank you so much for being here. I'm getting angry, to say the least, at what the left's COVID response has done to this country. The left, for decades, has complained the most, from an economic perspective at least, about big evil corporations, the wealth gap, and the education gap, right? Like, so economically, those are the three big points from the left. Big evil corporations, the wealth gap, the rich are getting richer, the poor are getting poor, and the education gap between rich and poor and black and white. Yet, these last 10 months, they have ruled over and celebrated policies that have expanded those gaps to unimaginable levels. Big corporations first. Every little guy has been or is getting run out of business. And who has thrived? Walmart, Amazon, Chipotle, the big restaurant chains who can outlast the shutdowns and who can afford the regulations. And the little guys have been shut down. This is insane. We've said this for years and years about regulations in general. Regulations always help the big guys. They're often written by the big guys because they can afford them and they can comply and they have massive teams of lawyers, and the little guys can't. Regulations prevent competition from rising up, which is why the big guys like regulations. But anything that's ever been done is nothing like COVID. Amazon could have never imagined a better policy than no one's allowed to go outside. Close down all the stores. There's teams of Amazon lobbyists milling about DC trying to come up with new regulations to pass to help them and hurt their competition. They never have dreamed of shut down the malls. Don't allow people to go outside in California. Never even crossed their mind. And that's what the left has been advocating for. Meanwhile, they've doubled, tripled in size, these big companies have. Second thing, the rich are getting richer. I got a list here of the top 30 billionaires in America. And their wealth has all exploded this last year. Number 30, Lin Bin, in mid-March, his net worth was $3.5 billion. Today it's $8.2 billion. He's increased $4.7 billion. He owns some electronic company. We just run through any of them, right? Like Michael Dell, his net worth was $30 billion, and now it's $39 billion. Bezos went from $113 billion to $203 billion. He increased $90 billion of net worth. Now, this is the crazy billionaires, but it's true for every shade of rich. And I'll tell you if you're rich or not. I'll let you know right now if you're rich. Since March, have you put your savings into rent and bills? Or have you put your savings into the stock market and doubled your money? Those are the two parts of our country. People who have spent all their savings and are now living in debt, or people who have doubled their savings because they put it in the stock market. Okay? If you did that, you're rich. We shared an email on my radio show the other day from a guy who, this email was sent to Alex Berenson, former writer at the New York Times. He lives in Northern Virginia with his lawyer wife. They're both lawyers. His brother lives in Brooklyn, where they all grew up. So the rich guy, he and his wife, they roll out of bed, they wear their pajamas, and they go to work in their own respective home offices. His brother got laid off. His wife runs a hair salon that got shut down by the city. His kid doesn't go to school. The rich guy's kids have private tutors. The Brooklyn dad's kids can't go to playgrounds. The rich parents, their kids, they all play outside. They have fireplaces all set up in the driveways of the cul-de-sac for nighttime gatherings almost every night. They got family barbecues, neighborhood barbecues, the whole thing. The Brooklyn dad can't go to the gym. They're all shut down. The rich dad, they've all set up home gyms with Pelotons and free weights and the whole thing. The Brooklyn dad has put all of his money into rent. The rich dad has doubled his savings in the stock market. The poor dad's stuck in an 800 square foot apartment in New York City. The rich dad is stuck in his 5,000 square foot house. These are entirely different experiences, and they're brothers. And it's not just now. These will have ramifications forever down the road. Now the rich have way more wealth to buy houses, invest, go on vacations, etc., and the poor are now further and further behind. And this is from the left, right? So under the left, the big corporations have gotten 2-3 times as big, and the rich have gotten richer and the poor have gotten poorer. Thanks, Democrats. Third one, education. Poor kids aren't going to school. Poor kids aren't going to school. And rich kids have tutors and they're homeschooled and they have more options. The governor of California, Gavin Newsom, his kids go to a private school that's been meeting in person. Okay? That's all you need to know. And that will obviously have major ramifications down the road. So does the left not see it, or do they not care? I think a better question is, did they ever care? So Saturday Night Live, Pete Davidson, he did this bit of making fun of people in Staten Island who were protesting COVID, whatever. He is making money, right? He's at work. The studio audience was classified as employees. They were paid $150 each in order to get around the New York State guidelines, which prohibit people from going to TV shows, audiences, right? So they paid each audience member $150, made them employees. Right? The governors in New York, the law says that you can't, no live audiences unless it's consisted of paid employees, cast and crew. So they paid people. They paid people so they could have their show working. And then during the show, they mocked businesses, mocked business owners, mocked people for complaining that they're not allowed to go to work. Are you kidding me? Can you think of any policy that has ever, in the history of America, that has ever or could ever achieve the goals of big corporations getting bigger? Can you think of any policy that ever has or ever could make the rich richer and the poor poorer any more than what we've done these last 10 months? Which is like literally, you hair salon, you have to shut down, you lawyer and bureaucrats, you guys keep getting paid. And can you think of any policy or could think of any policy that could ever make white kids smarter and kids of color, they don't even go to school? All the issues that the left has so-called been fighting for these last few decades. It's the left's own COVID policies that made them infinitely worse. And they keep doubling down on it. It's amazing. And here's the key. Here's the best part. The worst part. You're the bigot. You're the bigot for calling this out. You're the bigot for saying, hold on, wait a second. You don't have compassion. You're not looking out for the people. Come on, think of the people. The New York Fed just did a report, 41% of black-owned businesses have shut down. 41%. But I'm the bigot? I'm the racist? For wanting a more sensible strategy here now 10 months later after a virus at 99.99% survival rate? I'm the bigot. Check this out. This is the Chicago Teachers Union. They sent out this tweet yesterday, 2 days ago. The push to reopen schools is rooted in sexism, racism, and misogyny. What? Like, I'm the one who wants kids in Chicago to go to school? And I'm the sexist, racist bigot who hates women or whatever? Like, what? That doesn't make any sense. The misogyny part doesn't even make any sense. This is the Washington Post. The lost generation. Surge of research reveals students sliding backwards. Most vulnerable, worst affected. Yeah, I know. But you're the racist. Come on. I'm done. You're done. Be done. Defy this nonsense. Because by their own standards, they're the racist. Amazing. All right, bottom line here. If you think our economy, with trillions of dollars of printing money, trillions of dollars of spending bills, small businesses going out of business like never before, if you think this is a problem, then you need to buy gold. So where is the question? I got some reviews here from their Google review. You can look up Trustpilot, Better Business Bureau, Consumer Reports. It's all the same reviews. I like this person. After listening for 6 months to economic experts, I researched precious metal companies in depth for a week, narrowed my list of 4 places. I spoke with senior consultants at each and chose to read analysis from 2 firms. Hands down, Patriot Gold provided the most comprehensive details for my first time investing choice. I had the same experience. Another review, Andy was professional in every way, never pressured me to purchase my gold and silver. I love that. With the spot price where they are now, I'm extremely happy I talked myself into the purchase. I have all the confidence in the world that I'll be doing business with Patriot in the future. Me too. Buy gold and silver. Sent to your home in your hands. 1-800-798-4260. 1-800-798-4260. PatriotGoldGroup.com. Spread the word. Hey, Slater Crusaders, I have to play this clip for you. I saw this clip the other day, and I haven't seen anyone talk about it. And I said, someone with a TV show needs to play this clip so it can get out there. And I realized that's what we do here. So I got to play it for you. WWMT in Michigan, Kalamazoo, Grand Rapids, Michigan. So the anchor is pitching to the reporter who's at this restaurant that is defying the state lockdown orders, right? So he's opening up inside. Not allowed to in Michigan, but he's doing it because he's broke. They've run him out of business. He got 2 takeout lunch orders. Okay, it's this little small business, the Daily Grind Cafe. So he said, enough of this. I'm opening up inside. Find me, take me to court, do whatever you want. So the anchor's out front, and as the reporter's out front, so as the anchor pitches to the reporter, there's this crazy guy in the background who starts yelling at the reporter. Turns out, it's the owner. Here it is.
News Channel 3's Tavarius Haywood joins us live in Portage with the details on why the judge said no.
This cafe.
Tavarius, is everything okay?
Okay. Our government leaders have abandoned me.
Are you the owner?
$4 trillion of stimulus money. They gave it to who? Special interest groups and campaign donors. I'm Dave Morse. I own the place.
So what's going on?
What's going on? You know what's going on.
Tell me. You tell me.
Hey, we got a government that has taken the stimulus money. They gave it to special campaign donors. They gave it to special interests. They abandoned me, and they have put me in a position where I have to fight back, okay?
So do you feel that this is the right thing to do?
Absolutely. I feel everybody needs to stand up. Hey, listen, there was enough money to give every family in this country $20,000 to go home for 2 months. They chose to give it to special interests and campaign donors, the Kennedy Space Center, and they abandoned us. So you could have given me money. I'd gladly walk away for 60 days and let this virus settle down. I'm not going to do it alone, okay?
Are you going to continue to violate the state's orders and stay open?
This is a state order. This isn't an order. This is a conspiracy. This is a tyranny.
What do you want to tell other restaurant owners who...
Wake up. Stand up. This is America. Be free. I got patriots coming out supporting me the last 2 days. You know what? It's a great thing. Wake up. This is America. Don't let them ramrod you. This is crazy when you turn around and you watch what's going on West Orange Avenue, the big department stores, the train station, the airports, side by side eating meals for 4 hours. And you're going to blame me? Come on. Come on. This is not right, and you guys know it. Everybody knows it. Stand up, America. Give us the money to shut this thing down and calm this virus, but don't take it out on a select few.
Is there anything else you want to add, sir?
That's it, brother.
All right.
I'm glad you listened to me. Thank you.
Well,
hey, I'm really
the
a humorous
entire
guy.
West Michigan just listened to you. You're live on TV right now.
All right, I'm glad to hear that, okay?
Yes,
I'm really
sir.
a good guy.
Yes,
I've been
sir.
married 38 years. I got a wife, 3 kids. I got 4 great-grandchildren. Let me tell you something. I got a good life, and I've worked hard for it. I'm not giving up easily. I'm not going down alone. They want me to go down and be quiet. They never want to hear from me again. I'm not going to put up with it. It's time to rise up.
Got you.
Got to rise up. Shut it all down, or don't shut any of us down. That's the only way to get control of a virus.
Yeah, that clip needs to be way more viral. I stand with that guy. And here's the point I want to make about that clip. At the end there, right, and he does his very righteous rant, right? He goes, I'm really a good guy. Why does he, someone who's being treated very unfairly, to say the least, by the government, forcing him to shut down, but the fast food joints down the street aren't, right? Same with that Orange County restaurant owner. You've seen that clip, that woman who was forced to shut down her restaurant outside, right? She set up this whole outside eating thing. She has to shut it down. But NBC is filming a TV show, and they set up tents in the same parking lot for catering, for the crew, okay? So that's safe, that's allowed to be open, but she has to shut down, okay? Same thing with this guy. This is truly unjust. Livelihoods on the line, life savings on the line. And they rightfully and righteously complain and say, this is crazy. And then at the end feel the need to apologize. Sorry, I'm normally a nice guy. No, use that righteous anger. You're in the right. Don't apologize. These politicians deserve to be called out without apology. You're doing nothing wrong. Coming up Thursday on my radio show, we're going to talk to Michael Walsh. He has a new book out. I can't wait to read it. It's called Last Stands: Why Men Fight When All Is Lost. He says heroism, the willingness to fight, the willingness to put your life on the line for family, tribe, duty, honor, country, and God in the face of the greatest possible adversity used to be considered one of the foremost masculine virtues. Indeed, the history of Western civilization from the ancient Greeks to the recent present has been the history of heroism as well. Indeed, just 70 years ago this week, the 1st Marine Division fought its way to the pages of history with their gallant stand at the Chosin Reservoir in North Korea in temperatures as low as minus 30 degrees. Can you even imagine that? The Marines held off 100,000 Chinese attackers and fought their way in hellish conditions back to the Allied lines. Today, however, we live in a decidedly unheroic age, one in which the traditional masculine attributes of courage, physical strength, and moral fortitude have been disparaged by feminists and soy boys nearly into oblivion. It's a book about last stands, right? These are men who know they're going to lose. They know they're going to die, but they fight anyway until the end. Why? It's about the Spartans at Thermopylae, Roland's epic defense of Charlemagne's rear guard, Santa Anna's siege of the Alamo, defended by Davy Crockett, Jim Bowie, Little Bighorn, Crazy Horse versus Custer's 7th Cavalry. I need to know these stories. I need to know them deeply and intimately and what motivated these men. And I guarantee you, no way did these men apologize. And I don't want to criticize this store owner. Don't get me wrong. It's just interesting how we've been trained to be so compliant that after someone says, hey, you're destroying my business, we still feel the shame of, oh, sorry. Am I being a little too rude? No. But anyway, if we all knew these stories, we wouldn't be so complacent with just this absolute despicable leadership, treating you like a chump. If we knew these stories, we wouldn't sit back as they keep our churches closed. It's insane to me that people keep their churches are still closed. The Bible says meet in person. We've said this before, but every Christian today grew up reading books like Radical and Crazy Love and Not a Fan. And then King Newsom comes in with a virus with a 99.99% survival rate, and it keeps everyone in their pajamas on Sunday morning. It's embarrassing. We had a fundraiser on Friday here in San Diego. It was for a pro-life center. And it was so awesome. We had about 50 men in someone's backyard. We ate dinner, saved lives, raised like $20,000. Men standing up for life, men standing up for precious babies. It was amazing. And it was like we were like a private militia, like meeting, like don't park on the street. They may know that there's too many people here. Like I had to like meet in secret, like a secret code. Like, get out of here. We're gonna get shut down by Newsom. You're gonna shut down a group of men meeting to save lives while your hypocrite friends eat at the French Laundry? Not for that. Anyway, more Michael Walsh. He says, whatever, that's fine. I think of Junipero Serra. Junipero Serra is well known here in San Diego. He was 55 years old, and he was making this massive 800-mile hike from Baja, Mexico, to San Diego. 800 miles. And he was through the desert, right? And his leg was so infected, he couldn't walk anymore. Couldn't even walk. And everyone was telling him, listen, man, you got to turn back. You got to turn back. You can't go. You can't go anymore. It's okay. Go back, rest, we'll try again. And he refused. He absolutely refused to stop. This is what he said. He said, God has given me the strength to come so far. Even if I should die on the way, I shall not turn back. They can bury me wherever they wish, and I shall gladly be left among the pagans if it be God's will. So he told the guy who works on the mules to help him. He's like, come up, whatever concoction you mix up to help the mules, put it on me. And the guy's like, I've never done it on a human before. And Junipero Serra, he said, well then, son, just imagine that I'm an animal. Make me the same remedy that you would apply to the mule. And he did. And the next morning, Serra was up and walking again, and they hiked and made it another 300 miles through the desert to get to San Diego. Right? And I think of stories like that, you're like, what? And here we are in America today, like, I gotta stay safe. Ooh. I wanna be safe. Like, a virus with a 99.9% survival rate wouldn't have been on the radar of Junipero Serra and his team. We just talked about the Mayflower 400 years ago, 1620. Mayflower came across to America. Half of them died. There's no way. They're about to board the boat. And they know the risk, right? They know the Jamestown settlement. They know Roanoke. They know that everyone died in all their previous journeys, and they're going anywhere. There's no way you could go up there and be like, whoa, hold on, guys. Do you know that there's a virus that has a 99.99% survival rate? You better not go. You better stay here. It's much safer. Like, what are you talking about? Like, there's a 80% chance I die on the way. Like I know. Like your silly virus wouldn't even cross their minds. Sarah said about turning back, he said, let us not speak of that. I have placed all my confidence in God, of whose goodness I hope that he will grant me to reach not only San Diego, but also to Monterey. He's like, I'm not gonna get to San, we're gonna keep going. We need so much more of that in our churches. We need more of that in our restaurant owners. We need more of that in our business owners. We need more of that in men today in general. More of that heroism. Michael Walsh, again, the book is called Last Stands, Why Men Fight When All Is Lost. So 65% of title claims on houses are fraud related. What? 65%, because it's all online. Everything's online, right? Super easy for people to hack in, and then they get your title, and then they trace your signature, and they take out a quit claim deed, and they start taking out loans against your house, and the county thinks it's you, because they, right? And then all your equity's gone. And you don't even know. You're just sitting around, you're going to work, you're paying your bills, and you don't even know that someone's doing this. And then the collection bills start coming, and you're like, what's going on here? Maybe some people, they try to sell their house, and they find out they don't even really own it anymore. Right? First segment, we talked about being a chump, but how to not be a chump, right? The left is treating you like a chump. Getting robbed like this, you'll feel like a chump. As opposed to catching the hacker red-handed, because that's what Home Title Lock does. They monitor. They're the only people who monitor your home title for you. And if it's stolen, then they'll pay up to $250,000 in legal fees to help you restore your home title. Part of owning a house. Visit HometitleLock.com. You can register your address, see if you're already a victim, and use the code RADIO for 30 days of free protection. So just go to HometitleLock.com and use the promo code RADIO. HometitleLock.com. Hey, Slater Crusaders. So we talk all the time about how entitled Americans are, how just lazy, entitled, no perspective of what life is like around the world and how good we have it here. And that creates a lot of whining and victimhood and all that other nonsense. I love immigrant stories. I think we need way more immigrants like our next guest and way more emigrants. We know who they would be. People we can just send off to other places around the world. She's the author of Visible Strength's Hidden Scar, Shigitu Kabede. Shigitu, how are you today?
I'm doing well, Mike. Thank you for having me.
Wonderful to talk to you. So tell us about your childhood in Ethiopia.
Well, my childhood, I was kind of born on the wrong era. I was born when my country was transiting from kingdom into socialism, and so I didn't know who my parents are, and I ended up in an orphanage. And I have 3 brothers, and I'm the only girl in the family. And later on, when this socialism progressed, they forced every boy to be soldiers and every man, low-income man. And so I lost my brother. I'm the only oldest left in the family. And the missionaries also forced out of our country because socialism and religion, it doesn't go together. And they were Christian. So I was left for the second time with no parent. And this is, I'm still young, underage. And then So that's what a little bit of what my childhood looks like.
What can you describe? Give us a story to help us understand what poverty looked like for you.
Poverty is, it's very hard to describe it in America. It's not what we understand and what we know. Poverty is in this country. People describe, we have a problem here and we wanted to get rid of our system, and then so we can get rid of all the companies, and then only we will have justified life. So poverty, from my perspective, is no opportunity. You can't go to school. You don't have anything to eat. You can't survive tomorrow. You don't know where your next meal is going to come. Those who have money and power, they can kill you, they can rape you, whatever. That's poverty, when you don't have a voice at all.
How often did you go without food?
Oh, many times. Many times. I have left Ethiopia at the age of 17, and I was, 2 months pregnant, traveling by foot because you can't get away from socialism. That itself is a crime. On that 3-month journey, I was eating leaves. I was drinking whatever creek or river, whatever I ran into. So there was days that I didn't have any real food.
What was life like? You said you were in a time where you were transitioning from kingdom to socialism. Was life better under the kingdom prior to moving to socialism, or was it all bad?
When we're comparing to United States, kingdom is way better than socialism, way, way better. I mean, you can live your life, you can build a house, you can buy a car, you can start a business, you can do whatever you want to. But your life is kind of to please your king and your queen. That's why our founding fathers left that kind of governing and came to United States and built this, what we know, a free land that every man, every woman can invent something not to please the government, not to please their king, but to please themselves and to please their creator, who created them to be creative. So that's the difference. But in socialism is you punish for everything. You breathe, you punish for that, everything. So what we see today in America is the birth of socialism. The first stage is that they control you by creating a political correctness. Everything started like, you can't say this. You can't look like that. You can't criticize this one. You can't have this. I shame you who we are. I shame you for what you have done. I shame you for what you have able to create. Everything is wrong. You can't get right with socialism. So they start you like that. And then you have no ability to trust anyone. You have no ability to have a free conversation with your family members, community members, co-workers, nothing. So they build that wall first. And then it comes that you can't weapons are bad. So you can't have a weapon. And then the next thing will come is Western education. Good education is bad. So once they rob you of humanity, they rob you of a way of defending, they rob you of your educating yourself. And then the next thing is religious bad. So pretty much you will have an empty souls that have no way to trust and have a conversation with their neighbors. They have no way of educating themselves. They have no way of defending themselves. They have no way to associate with their peers and have a religious freedom and pray to God and whatever God it is for them. Mm-hmm. Once you take that out, all you have is animals. Someone can tell you what to do, what to think, what to wear. When I say what to wear, I'm not kidding. They have colors. You remember in the Nazi Germany, they have a brown shirt. They are people who wear certain color. And if you are not in that group, then you have no right to say anything. So that's what we are seeing in America. And in 2015, I wrote a book, Appeal to Heaven for a Great Nation, trying to warn Americans that we are heading in the wrong direction. We are making our young adult to not value work, to not value, to do something with their life. We just pushing this, give for free college, free this, free that. But for reality, there is nothing free under the earth. This country is built from ground zero. We are the most youngest country in a civilized world. But yet in this short period of time, look at what we have accomplished. We're the one who created airplane. We're the one who created cars. We're the one who created Apple, computers and all this civilization, not to mention the medical equipment and how we advance in education. Why? Because our founding fathers, they came from socialism, they came from a kingdom, they came from all kind of governing, and they understood none of this will make human being what they are. So they created this system that we all are free to invent, to create, to be who we are, to live wherever we are. And when you set free humanity, then they can develop, they can create, and that's why we grow this high in a very, very short time. And that's what today the socialists trying to kill.
Love all that, Shagitu. Can you give me an example of what political correctness looked like in Ethiopia, right? Because we see a million examples here in America, right? And people are scared to speak out, and we get it here. What did it look like in Ethiopia for you?
At the time, you can't criticize anyone. There is no wrong as long as someone else is telling you. Your opinion, it doesn't matter. This is wrong. So our world is like, I'm a parent and a grandparent. So I teach my children, this is wrong. You can't do this. The fire will burn you. But, if you play with fire, you'll burn. If you do this, this happens to you. In today's society or in the socialism, no one can tell you that. You can't tell. Someone has to learn the hard way. That's why suicide rate in America is very, very high, even though we are the most advanced society. Why people are killing themselves? Because no one is telling them the fire will burn you, because it's not politically correct. So people are experimenting with life, and they're experimenting what they have been told. There's no wrong way to do it. Keep doing it. Do whatever you feel like it. Do whatever feels you good. At the end of the day, you find out all this is in vain, no value. So that's what political correctness does.
I like the metaphor of fire will burn you, for just like truth, the truisms of life.
Yeah.
Let me just push again. Like what was that like in Ethiopia, right? Like, do you remember like one thing in particular, like one of those truisms that you wish you could have said, or that you wanted to say that you weren't allowed to?
Yes, anyone who say no to what they say, you will get shot. Not only getting shot, when your family come to claim your body after you got shot, they have to pay for the amount of bullet. For instance, they come and they wanted to take your beautiful daughter away. They just take her. That's it. One person in a brown shirt or a blue jacket, they like your daughter. And they're not marrying her. They're just taking her to rape or whatever, make her a slave. So you say, no, you can't take my daughter. If you like her, propose to me. I will let you marry. No. Why am I wasting that? I'll take her. So you're trying to stop. You say no to that. You're trying to negotiate. You're trying to talk. They kill you. They kill you with 2 bullets. That cost the family $200, because this unnecessary person who should know better to not interfere with the political correctness, now he's trying to stop this big important person to take his daughter away.
So Shagitu, I know people listening are saying, oh, that's horrible. That's the worst thing I've ever heard. That could never happen here. I'm sure you've heard people say that a million times. What do you say to that?
This year, a lot of people are apologizing to me. I have been told that many, many times. People say, yeah, that's in Africa. Yeah, that's in a developing country, but not here. And look at what happened, what we see, what is folding right in front of our eyes. Many things are happening. Our leaders, in the socialist part, they call themselves Democrat. What they have been thinking, they are learning negative things from these dictators and socialist countries. What are they learning? They're learning the people who are in. So let's take Cuba, for example. Cuba's leader, his family, they're not poor. They have no luck. But the rest of the Cubans are the ones who are struggling, who are starving. So our greedy so-called Democrat learning that, they are saying, you know what, we're going to control the whole world. We're going to have it all for ourselves by the name of like we're creating environmental problems and population grows so much and they're doing this. So we create all these problems, take over the world, and we're the one who's going to live the life and we're going to get rid of all these people. So that's what they are doing. So
I got 30 seconds, Shigitu. You went on this beautiful description of America, how wonderful this place is, yet our kids are being taught that America is uniquely evil to the world. We're not only not great, we're not even medium, we're the worst ever in the world. What do you say back to that?
That's the most saddest reality today our children are learning. And this is the country, anyone, I'm the orphan, a refugee, a Black woman who came from Africa. And in this country, I became a homeowner. I not more than one homes. I have owned businesses, very successful. I have published books. I have stood in front of thousands of people. I help with my own money here in inner cities, many, many thousands of kids in a refugee camp, thousands of people. All this is possible because I live in this great country. This is the greatest country in the earth that God have given for humanity.
Shigitu, we got to run. I'd love to have you come back, and I want to talk about the Christian part of all this, and like you mentioned driving out the missionaries and the religious faith aspect of that another day, because I think that's happening here in America too, willingly. Can we talk again, Shigitu?
Yes, definitely. I would love that. Thank you so much, Mike, for having me.
My pleasure. Shigitu Kebede, Visible Strength, Hidden Scars. You can find it on YouTube and other books as well. All right, more coming up. True story. We'll talk about free speech, actually, on college campuses. Next, True Story. Mike Slater, spread the word. Hi, Slater Crusaders. So we just talked to Shigitu about her life in Ethiopia and said the very first thing that goes in a socialist country is politically incorrect speech as determined by the elites, right? And we always need to be looking at our college campuses. We used to think that what happens in college campuses would stay in that little bubble, but it is beyond a doubt that it now spreads across the rest of the country and the rest of the culture and then into politics as well. Nathan Hardin is here to give us an update on the latest here. He was a part of this, it looks like the most thorough, comprehensive study on freedom of speech on college campuses. He's the education editor at Real Clear Politics. Nathan, how are you, sir?
Doing great. Thanks for having me on the program.
My pleasure. So what was the mission here? It looks like you worked with the 55 top universities to determine what and why.
Well, this is really the first survey of its kind in that we surveyed almost 20,000 students across the country. So previously, there have been polls or surveys of, just a broad spectrum of a few hundred students, and you could sort of take a national temperature on this issue. But never before have we been able to go campus by campus and really figure out what's this free speech climate at Yale versus Harvard, or what's it like at University of Alabama versus the University of Texas. And we have that kind of granular look at the situation, and we found some pretty surprising results, frankly.
Nice. And then you ranked accordingly. And everyone needs to go to realcleareducation.com/speech, and you can watch the whole report or look at the whole report and look up the universities.
Right.
So what were some of the questions you asked?
Well, we really looked at a couple of different areas. First, we asked students, do they feel that the administration at their school really supports free speech? And then we asked them more personal questions. What sorts of speech would you feel comfortable allowing on your campus, or would you oppose allowing on your campus? And so, that got kind of down to brass tacks. And we built all that into a rankings and scoring system, and we're able to rank these 55 schools accordingly. And, we found that students actually were, unfortunately very open to censoring speech. Almost 1 out of 5 thought that actually violence was okay to use to stop offensive speech in at least some rare circumstances. So that was pretty startling.
So I'm looking at our alma mater, and it says 33% of students say it's never acceptable to shut down a speaker on campus. And I'm like, hold on. That means 67% say it is acceptable? Is that right?
Yeah, it's like saying, 33% of people think it's not okay to kick puppies, and you're like, well, what about those other 2/3?
Yeah.
So it's startling. But one of the things that was so great about doing a survey of this size is we were able to see that there are significant differences. So we can look at the national data and say, wow, that's startling. But for instance, if you look at Stanford, over 40% of the students there said it was okay to shout down a speaker whose views you find offensive. But that number was only 13% at Kansas State. So you're looking at two very different speech climates there.
Wow. What do you explain to that? Have you thought about why that difference exists?
Well, I think you were looking at two things. 7 of the top 10 schools in our speech rankings were big public state universities. And as a nice mirror image, 7 of the bottom 10 were sort of elite private universities. So you're looking at a culture where maybe things are more polarized politically, and the more sort of one-sided a campus was in terms of its political ideology, the worse the speech climate tended to be, with a few exceptions. And one of those is the leader or the winner of our rankings, the University of Chicago. They are unique in that they're actually one of the most liberal schools on our rankings in terms of how students identify. But conservatives there actually rank the school very highly. And that school is sort of known for taking a proactive approach to protecting academic freedom. Robert Zimmer, their president, has been very vocal on this issue. So they've
I didn't mean to interrupt.
I
didn't mean to interrupt. I was going to say, like, I haven't looked too much into this stuff, but I, for whatever reason, know that Chicago is very intentional about having a welcoming campus like that. So why are other schools not? Or have you found that other schools try to be intentional and are unsuccessful at it, or they're not even trying?
Well, I think most academics, broadly speaking, consider themselves advocates of free speech, right? But I think the problem comes when you get down to brass tacks and you get down to some of these hot button issues. Students said that abortion, racial issues, transgender issues, these were the topics that they found most difficult to discuss openly on campus. And so, it's easy to say, well, we're for free speech if you're talking about, should we raise taxes or lower taxes? But when you get to some of these sort of identity politics issues that people feel very strongly about, they feel threatened if you disagree with them, then we find that, there's a lot less openness to discussing these or to allowing someone else to come on campus to discuss. But then again, what does free speech mean if you're only support it when what you're hearing doesn't offend you? So that's the issue that we found here.
Yeah. What are students afraid of? What is the fear if they were to speak up?
Well, I think we see this in two areas. There is some fear to disagree with professors, right? I think about 25% of the students said they would not feel comfortable openly disagreeing with their professors. But a lot of this really is more of a peer pressure issue. And there's a sense that, if you have a political view that is outside of the mainstream on your campus, you could be ostracized, you could be shunned, you could be, called out. A lot of this, we see it on social media all the time. So, at a place like Columbia University, you see a very different sort of environment than, at UCLA or somewhere, a big public university. Even though both schools that might trend liberal, there's a intensification at these elite schools of you have to conform to the mainstream views.
That's really interesting. Okay, I used to have this belief, I'm curious your thought, that, and I think most people have this belief that these kids will grow out of it. It's just a university thing, and they'll grow up and they'll become,
Right.
I think like Buckley would even have had this view, right? Like you're a wide-eyed communist in college, and then you have to pay taxes, you become a conservative. And I think we're seeing that that's not the case anymore, or at least we shouldn't be banking on that happening. Do you think people are, well, I see that in general, but then even as it relates to free speech, do you think growing up in a college that doesn't foster freedom of speech, do you think people leave ill-equipped to go into the real world and exercise that muscle that they may not have anymore?
One thing that's become so evident this year is that the intolerance for opposing views that we have seen on our campuses is really leaked over into the mainstream. It's in our legacy media organizations, the publishing industry. You know, we've seen an exodus of kind of center-left journalists like Andrew Sullivan or Glenn Greenwald from these publications, because they, in a sense, weren't doctrinaire liberals. They had something idiosyncratic about their views, although they largely were on the left. Barry Weiss of the New York Times is another. And you know, I just heard the other day that you know, there was a staff meeting at one of the major publishing houses that was about to release Jordan Peterson's next book. He's another guy he's by no means a right-wing fellow, but he has some views that are not doctrinaire in terms of gender politics. And there was sort of weeping and crying, and you know, that we can't allow this view to be you know, published. And so I think you're seeing that, yeah, there's a leakage of this kind of intolerance that we have in universities when these students are graduating and entering the workforce. You know, they're carrying that kind of ideology with them, unfortunately.
And that's a bad thing for our society, but I definitely want people to look at this survey and the study you did if their parents sending their kids off to this school, because these are expensive schools. University of Chicago is $60,000. Well, luckily that's one of the good ones, but you know, $60,000 to get your kid to not be in an open environment, that doesn't seem like a wise investment, right?
That's right, and we hope that parents and students will go. You can go to realcleareducation.com and you can see these rankings for yourself. Look at this. You know, what schools are you interested? Let's see how they stack up. If you're if you're an alumnus, you want to see how your school is doing in this area. We encourage you to go do that too. And this now, for the first time ever, really gives you the tools to do that.
Yeah, my college was good. I was the token conservative on campus, and I was able to write in the newspaper and do other things like that, and was relatively welcomed and not shunned or anything like that, but that would not be the case today. I'm certain of it. Nathan Hardin, realcleareducation.com. You can find the survey results there. Nathan, wonderful to talk to you, sir. Thanks for all your hard work on this.
All right, thanks for having me on the show.
Good stuff. Really good, true story. Mike Slater, do it again tomorrow. Spread the word.